that's why I talk about the narcissistic individual, because these are the individuals who, they're like control freaks. They seek control over others. And when people see that you can't easily be controlled, they have to aim for your stability. They have to aim for your foundation. They have to aim for your reputation. They have to aim for your social standing. And, you know, personally, I know a lot of TIs don't give a shit what people think about them. And at the same time, it's like, you cannot care about what people think about you as much as you want, but that doesn't change the fact that people are collaborating together to carry out this agenda against your life and your livelihood. You know what I mean? And that's why you see in a lot of cases, you know, jealousy and envy, when a lot of people are unalived, it's usually the person or the people closest to them in a lot of cases. Most of the time, it's somebody that knew them personally. Yeah, there's cases where it could be a stranger, but most of the time it's people who knew them personally or had connections in some way, shape, or form to carry out that type of thing. And so that's why I say, you know, jealousy, these narcissistic individuals, all of these things, these are very dangerous things. These are things that, you know, even if you're not a TI, even if you're not a target individual, things to be cautious of, because, you know, with jealousy, that eventually leads to somebody not wanting you to even exist. You know what I mean? And not wanting you alive here in the first place. So, you know, to all my TIs, you know, you got to move militant. You know what I mean? Yeah, we can be positive. We can be loving. You know, we can wish the best for people. You know, we could keep our energy, our vibrations on a higher level. You know what I mean? We can have faith in the Most High God. But at the same time, we gotta move militant and know that this is not a game at the same time, though. You know, this is some serious stuff. Having this many people plot against your life and openly showing you that they're involved in it by doing overt tactics. Like I said, you may not give a shit. You may not care about what people think about you, but that doesn't change the fact that people are carrying this out against your livelihood, though. And so that's why I say, you know, a lot of people gaslight. A lot of people play clueless, like they don't know what's going on, when deep down, so many people are in on it from the start. There's so many people that are in on this stuff, y'all. Like, this stuff is deep. This stuff goes so deep. Like I've said in many videos, they'll move out most your neighborhood just to surround you with perps, just to have them in your space and in your environment, just so they know everybody around you is okay with carrying this out. And, you know, nobody's gonna defy anything. And it'll go so deep, you could just do the simplest things. You could just go for a walk. You know, you could be minding your own business, and yeah, they'll send vehicles, you know, they'll send people doing all these intimidation tactics, which really aren't intimidating at all. Like, once you've been through this for so many years, you kind of see, you know, you understand why certain places never thrive. You know what I mean? You understand why a lot of these small towns, you know, they're just full of these type of individuals. You know, they're full of these type of, you know, sick individuals who, you know, that's why you can't build nothing. That's why a lot of times TIs have to leave. Even then, it may follow you. I've heard that plenty of times, but at least it's better than staying in the same environment. You know what I mean? At least you could be somewhere different. And, you know, the pettiness is at an all-time high. You know, the evil is at an all-time high. That's why I say a lot of these people, the only thing they can do is try to energy harvest and use your own energy against you. You know, use your own reaction against you. That's all they can do, just to try to get you out of character. And so once you see this, you know, for the joke that it is, it's kind of like you learn not to play so fast into their hand. You know, you gotta let some certain things roll off your shoulders, you know what I mean? At least if you want to be smart about it. I mean, you can react, that's on you, you know, that's free. Everybody has free will, but, you know, when they have the cops on their side and a lot of things are set up, you know, I wouldn't think that's a wise decision. So yeah, like I said, it's like being Truman showed. You know, all your neighbors, everybody around you is acting like everything's, you know, happy-go-lucky, and you know, it almost has like this weird vibe to it. Like, you know, things are too quiet. You know what I mean? That saying, when things are too quiet, you know, there's something up, there's something wrong. You know what I mean? That's how I feel after being through so much with reactive abuse and just experiencing this stuff. It's just, it's so much people that are pretending. You know, it's a lot of pretending, and it's a lot of people acting clueless on why you move how you move. You know what I mean? So when you're being gang stalked, especially if you come from a small town, majority of the time, in my opinion, I would think it's the majority of the population in that town. Yeah, I'm not saying everybody's involved. I'm not saying everybody's a perp. But you'd be surprised at the large numbers of people who would do something like this. You'd be surprised at the large number of people who... It's the Freemasonic secret societies and even deeper organizations. But, you know, just to generalize it, I believe that's one of the major key players in organizing these attacks on targeted individuals' lives. And, you know, that's why the moment you talk about it, I've tested this out myself, by the way. You know, the moment you make videos and you come out talking about these things and you're breaking it down, you know, that's when they send people to start honking the horn past your house, doing U-turns, driving back and forth. You know, you'll be somewhere peacefully